Thank you, Harry, and thanks for everybody for attending today. It's a busy day. There's a lot going on at the show, but for you to take your time and come and attend this event, we greatly appreciate that. So what I'm going to do today is cover a couple of topics. As mentioned, my name is Steve Rourke. I work for CFE Media. I'm a co-founder of the organization. I'll tell you a little bit more about the organization. We'll talk about where we think global manufacturing's future is going. I think that would probably be of interest to everybody in the room. We're going to talk about the 60 years of industrial automation education that we've been able to provide through control engineering. We're going to talk a little bit about the future, where we see things going in the future. Now, I've got an easy job. My job is to look out 20 to 25 years and talk about it. The vendors and the people that just got done speaking, they were talking about products and technologies that need to be released or need to be offered in the next 5 to 10 years. So my job is a little easier. And then I'm going to wrap it up and talk about where we think things are going and what that means to everybody, whether you're a manufacturer or a vendor. So real quickly on CFE Media, our job is pretty simple in this area. We provide content to engineers that help them better do their job. That's what we do. We do that in a variety of ways. We have the magazines, we have webcasts, we have newsletters, we do a lot of research, but the idea behind the company is on a global basis to be able to provide the information, the content that helps an engineer on a daily basis better do their job. You can see on the screen here, we're in Russia. We have control engineering Russia, Poland, Czechoslovakia. We've got Europe, and hopefully next year, Brazil and India. And some of this, I assume a lot of you know, but let me just cover it real quickly. In terms of the types of topics that we cover at control engineering, it's really mostly control related or industrial automation related. So it's the control equipment, it's the control systems, it's the information systems and networking as it relates to industrial automation. The other piece that we cover, and we spend a lot of time trying to understand, is the engineers themselves. So we do a lot of research. What kind of education do the engineers need to stay up to date on products or technologies? What processes are being used in one part of the world that are best in class that we can share that information with engineers around the world? So those are the key topic areas that we cover. In each of those areas, whether it be an article or research or a webcast, we try to mix in the three things here that we've listed at the bottom. Some energy management related take or theme related to the topic or the topic or the article, safety and optimization. So those three areas we try to cover in almost every article that we provide. So the future of global manufacturing. I think maybe some of you have seen this slide before, but when people do research about where's manufacturing going, we believe this slide or the implications related to this slide will affect all of us. And what this really says is, a couple of years ago there were 7 billion people around the globe. You guys heard that earlier today. In the next 20 years there's going to be over 9 billion people. So that's a big number. That's a lot of people buying things. The other thing that's of interest is the middle class 2 years ago was 1.8 billion people in the middle class, people that buy a lot of things. Over the next 20 years, that's going to grow to 4.8 billion people. That's a lot of middle class buyers added around the world. Buyers buy things. People have to make things. People have to manufacture products for those buyers. So we think that not only around the globe is this good news for the average manufacturer, the manufacturer, it's also especially good if you're in Asia. We happen to be in Asia. So India, China, the manufacturing is going to, we believe, continue very strongly for the next 20 years based on the information contained in this chart. So let's talk about control engineering and our anniversary. 60 years of industrial automation education. So when Andy asked me to put together this material, I wasn't sure exactly how to do it. But we reached out and we got a hold of some of our customers, we got a hold of some research companies, we went back to editors that have worked in control engineering for the last some 20, some 30, even 40 years. And we said, how can we display or go through information with this group of people and kind of outline what the key initiatives, the key areas of focus were for manufacturers over the last 60 years. And we really wanted to do it around these three areas of change. And you heard a little bit about this earlier today too. Processes that would take place in a manufacturing facility, the technologies, and then the types of engineering staff that would actually employ those technologies and those processes. So I'll walk you through what we came up with. So between the early 1950s into the early 1980s, really the focus, if you were a manufacturer, was on the manufacturing line. You spent a lot of time saying, how do I get that manufacturing line to be more productive? The people and the technologies were, at the time, compared to where we were at today, it was a little bit simpler. So the types of tools that you would see would be devices around, let's say, chart recorders, or very simple one-purpose devices that did not share any of the information amongst other devices, but really did a good job of providing information to the operator. But it took more operators. It took more devices. The devices were not connected. They couldn't pull all the information in one location. So it took a lot of time to manage the lines at that time. And I'm not sure if anybody knows what this item is, top right. Anybody know what this is? This is the first disk drive that was launched by IBM in 1954. So this ended up going into your computers. Now your laptops probably don't even have a hard drive, right? But that's what it looked like in 1954. So the next stage of focus we saw from the manufacturers were really related to the devices themselves. So you had a line, and in that line you had a number of devices that would make the line go. So what you really saw with the emergence of the transistor was things like the PLC being developed, right? You had DCSs being developed. You had HMIs being developed that would allow you to look at information from multiple devices. It really helped increase the productivity of the line and the businesses themselves. So what you really saw at that time was not, again, linear processes anymore, but you could actually monitor, control, and manage multiple processes at the same time using the new set of tools that were developed. They were lower cost, and they had really, in a lot of the cases, later in the 90s and early 2000s, they had networking added on. I'll talk more about that in just a minute. The types of engineers that were involved with this changed from the electrical and mechanical engineers to the automation control engineers, and then even to the mechatronics engineers. And this has obviously evolved over the last decade or two too. So this is the type of thing that we saw in the 1970s all the way up to probably 10 years ago. Obviously, intelligent devices have not changed. They continue to emerge. You heard about it today. They get smarter, faster, better. They communicate. But the devices themselves took an evolutionary leap back at this time. So what do we see today when we ask our editors and this group of folks? They really see it went from devices that you could network to now it's more systems that you can network. So we heard about that earlier today also, in that if I have an ERP system and I want to communicate to the plant floor, over the last probably 10, 15 years, that's become easier and easier. If I have a manufacturing execution system that I want to communicate to the plant floor or to my order management system, the ability to do that, you can actually do that now. And you can, but again, I saw one of the slides, I think it was about 14% of people are actually doing a lot of this, and I believe that. But the capability to do it is there today, right? Where prior to this time, it really wasn't. And we'll see that continue to evolve over time. The other thing that we saw a big change in the last 10 years was really, from an engineering perspective, the engineers now have to be knowledgeable or at least aware of what's going on in IT. IT, on the other hand, has to be aware of what's going on in operations and the engineering out on the floor. So we really see this IT-OT hybrid as something that is going to continue to evolve for the next number of years. And again, there's been a lot of information this morning, but everything from cybersecurity to the ability to use mobile, either in the plant or outside of the plant, all of that is evolving very quickly. So the combination or the merging in some ways of some of the traditional IT functions along with the operations, the engineering functions, we see continuing over time. So that's kind of a look in the background here of what we've seen over the last 60 years. It's hard to put 60 years into 10 minutes, but that's what we came up with. So the other thing, if you guys have additional comments or questions after this presentation, please send them off to me. We're actually writing about this on a regular basis now because our audience likes to hear about where things have come from. Now the most exciting part is really what we consider next, is where are things going. So when you ask, again, that group of people I talked about earlier, editors, when we talk to our customers, research folks, what's it going to be like in 25 years? I'm skipping over the next 5 to 10. It's, a lot of the stuff in the next 5 to 10 years you guys could probably forecast and you'd be right on. If I try to go out 60 years, it's too far. I don't know, I can't do it. But 20 to 25 years, where do we see things going? And these are some of the quotes that we got back from the people that we surveyed. Product design and manufacturing for the individual. Some of this stuff is obviously already available today. But the person that wants to go in and buy a specific car with specific colors, transmissions, engines, all the pieces, and put it together and have it delivered to their house in the next few weeks, that stuff doesn't happen a lot today. But we expect in 20 to 25 years, that will clearly be the norms. Not just with automotive, but with a lot of the products that we all buy. One of the items here is 3D printers. Gets a lot of press. Has it fulfilled the promise that we were talking about 5 years ago? Probably not. But will it in the next 20 to 25 years? We expect it will. Will you have a 3D printer at home? Probably. That makes specific components or specific things for you. Will almost every manufacturing facility have 3D manufacturing inside the plant? Probably. So we see that becoming, over time, certainly in 20 to 25 years, very important to the manufacturer. Portable mobile factories, the ability to move capacity from one location to another location. All right. So right now, in a lot of places, if you need additional capacity, you add a new line. Capital expenditure for the line, it's a big deal. And if you see the need change over time, you may have some issues. But portable capacity and moving that around from a mobile perspective, we see that. Robots everywhere. Voice and action-based control of everything. So the typing, even the mouse, in the next 20 to 25 years, we think will go away. I then went to a couple people that I know personally that have a lot of experience in industrial automation. One is our chief editor, Mark Hosky. Mark's been involved with control engineering for about 25 years. A lot of experience, a lot of technical knowledge. And I asked Mark, what do you think? Where do you think it's going to be in 20 to 25 years? And he really focused in on two areas where he thinks there's going to be significant change. One of them is optimization. He's real big on optimization. So machines that can optimize themselves while they run. Software and code that optimizes itself, monitors and optimizes itself while it runs. Everything in the plant we believe will have some type of optimization components based inside of it to optimize the machines and the code without having human intervention. The other thing that he's very big on is nano manufacturing. Again, a lot of people are writing about it, talking about it, but in 20 to 25 years, we think you'll see nano manufacturing in almost every facility. Frank Bartos, a friend of mine too, he's been in the marketplace writing for 40 years. So of that 60 years I talked about earlier, Frank has experienced a lot of it. Now, Frank has not slowed down at all. Frank is at a conference today in Chicago where he continues to keep himself up to date on technology processes that service the manufacturer. Frank really says in the next 20 to 25 years, you'll see a lot around virtual design. So the ability to design a product in software, fully test it in the software without having to develop a prototype. You can do this a little bit today in some areas, but he thinks this will be the norm or the standard in 20 to 25 years. The other thing is people and robots. Now he believes that there will be robots in every part of the plant. We will all have robots at home that will be helping us out with duties at home. My wife is excited about that. But the fact is, robots will be everywhere. And again, they'll be working in conjunction with humans. They'll be doing the heavy lifting, the fast movements, the dangerous stuff, working in conjunction with operators. So how will all of this happen? This doesn't happen quickly, right? There's a lot of effort that needs to take place. We believe that R&D and product innovation will only escalate and the velocity will increase. So time to market that was 3 years, will go to 1.5 years, will go down to 1 year and below that during that time frame. And we've seen that. This isn't hard to forecast. We've seen that in the last 25 years, so we expect that will continue. Vendors will work even more closely with their customers. Because of the velocity of change, we think that the vendors will have to be integrally involved with everything that's going on with their customers. Planning, products, shipping, delivery, all of that, we believe the vendors will be more involved with. So from a vendor perspective, that's good news, and I think from a customer perspective, from a manufacturer perspective, that's good news. Education is critical. I think I've heard this theme several times today. Educating everybody involved, so the operators, the management teams, the engineers, the maintenance personnel, keeping them up to date with what's going on and how they can take advantage of the technologies. We think that will be a big deal. We think that leaves a lot of opportunity for a lot of folks. And starting with, even in elementary schools, getting kids to understand the importance of technology and engineering. We think that will be something that we see grow over the next 20 years in order to service the opportunity related to these technologies. And then knowledge of and communication with target markets is critical. We've done a nice job as manufacturers in the past saying we've got a pretty good product. You know what, I think it'll work in the marketplace. Not really sure, but let's get it out there, and oftentimes it does because we're pretty smart. With that being said, in the future we believe clearly understanding what your target market wants is going to be a challenge for all of us. Now, there's going to be different ways to address that. I think, whether you're doing regular updates or working very closely with your customers in the markets, that's something you're going to be doing on a regular basis in 20 to 25 years. Now, a lot of this that I'm talking about today is taking place on a slower or smaller scale. So we work with Control Engineering in China. They do a lot of research, understanding engineers' marketing needs, are their content needs. What type of technologies do they understand today? What do they need more information on? So I would suggest if you're not getting that kind of information today, if you're not working with Control Engineering in China, please do so. They've got a lot of information to help out a lot of vendors, a lot of people understand what's going on in the market today. And by the way, like I said earlier, this is kind of the fun stuff. So in summary, industrial automation has evolved significantly over the last 60 years. I don't think there's any way to argue that. The future is very bright, and I think it's very bright not given just the technology, but given where the population dynamics are going, right? A lot, again, 3 billion additional people buying a lot of stuff. That's a lot of manufactured goods. Education, innovation, communication is going to be critical. There's no doubt. I don't think there's any way you could argue at that point. And hopefully, and again, control engineering will continue to grow and be around for the next 60 years. Thank you.